One wish. If you had one wish, what do you wish for? And yes, I checked the rules. You can't wish for other wishes. But I'd really like to know. One wish, what do you wish? Because Geralt's wish, chef's kiss. Yes, I'm talking The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. Probably butchering it as usual. Want to draw me into a fantasy novel? Bring me a guy who's been beaten to within an inch of his life with some kind of creature that I don't know what this deathmatch was, but it's not a good look, so I really am curious as to what went down. Going in, we've got this character who's dry, who's sarcastic, who seems pretty badass, and I want to get to know Geralt. Epic name. The kind of name that makes you feel like you're going to get Randall Thor energy for the rest of these novels. And let's take this train that we're riding on in the early going of this novel and just rip it off the tracks, down a ravine, into a bear den, and hit ourselves with a flashback that goes like this. Geralt's been summoned by King Foltest, and right out the gate we're getting these Renaissance vibes. And it's going well until we hear the story sour right out the get. See, King Foltest has committed a bit of royal incest. Not cool, taboo, ugh. But this particular affair resulted in the creation of a cursed monster. The gods, or maybe common sense, decided to punish the king and, unfortunately, take the life of the mother of the child during childbirth, and the baby that was born becomes a striga. If you're unfamiliar with Slavic folklore like me, well, a striga is like this owl-faced demon woman. Yeah, it looks like it just walked out of a Stephen King fever dream and mashed up with your childhood book Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah, something like that. It's horrifying. Now, the catch is that Foltest, the lunatic that he is, doesn't want the striga killed, he wants it captured and alive. And every person that he's asked to try to complete this task for a reward has unfortunately become striga chow. And this is where we find out what Geralt really is. What is a witcher? He's this half monster hunter, half CSI bounty hunter type detective. He doesn't even flinch at the task ahead of him. And so he pulls this monster lore out of his mind and comes to let the reader know that if a striga is kept out of its crypt until sunrise, curse reversed. Easy enough, right? I mean, that's what everybody says before the monster eats them. The fight is savage. Claws, slash marks redecorate the walls of this castle. I mean, it is getting crazy in there, and it is so vivid that the reader can so easily see how epic this battle is. Instead of coming down for a killing blow, he wears her down instead. The rooster crows, and the image of this monster just melts away into the form of this little girl, the curse being reversed. And in typical Witcher fashion, nope, not today. One last claw slash before she truly transformed back into her human form. I mean, nothing says welcome back to the human race by trying to decapitate your human rescuer. Flash forward. So we're back at the Temple of Melitel, where he's recovering from this fight, and you start to learn as he's piecing and putting back together the bones that have been rearranged by this crazy monster that this guy's not just a monster basher. He's actually got a lot to him. I mean, he's kind of the type that would be quoting Plato over dinner. He's a real philosophical nerd. He is full of irony and sarcasm throughout his philosophical quips. See, on paper, he's set up to be this Gaston-like brute. But when you peel the onion, which we're going to be peeling a lot of onion today, he's got a lot of brains behind those swords. Flashback again. And speaking of Gaston, Geralt rolls up to this Beauty and the Beast type mansion in the woods. And sure enough, Beast himself is there waiting. This curse didn't come from him not sharing his big old library, no. This came from something far worse. And the only way that he can break this curse is if somebody that he truly loves and mutually loves him back, gonna be hard to achieve being that he looks like a beast, so you would think. If that happens, the person he loves has to die, and then the curse will be reversed. A lot of curse removals with really difficult caveats in this book, and we're probably not even 100 pages in at this point. Geralt comes to discover that the beast here actually has a girlfriend, hubba hubba, and this girlfriend isn't your normal girlfriend. Actually, it's a Bruxa. No, there's no photos in here, but a good old Google image search led me to finding out what a Bruxa is, and it looks like a demon matched with a banshee mashed with a Victoria's Secret model? Yeah, no, this is not fun fantasy, this is dark fantasy. The Brothers Grimm would be slow clapping in the corner. And it turns out, as you might have guessed, that Geralt's not here for small talk or love stories. It turns out this Bruxa's been, I don't know, eating the townspeople, and he can't really come up with a happily ever after situation for this particular monster runway model, so he's gonna have to take her down, and he does so when she attacks him. The Bruxa dies, and the curse breaks. So, whoa, beast and vampire monster, actually love can bloom in beautifully disturbing places. Boo! As we jump back to present day, we get a little more insight into his topic of fate. See, he's of the mindset that skill and wit are literally the only thing that matters, and quite frankly, fate can shove it. So we get another flashback. We're mid-scene, and Geralt's rolling into town, old western style, and he just drops this carcass of a monster down at the feet of the local mage. Well, the mage's name is Stregobor, and Stregobor sees Geralt just as another monster hunter. And wouldn't you know it, he's got a curse to reverse too. That's 1, 2, 3 in a row. He claims he's being hunted by this cursed woman named Renfri. Her supposed curse is being born beneath a full moon? I don't really know. I'm not really buying the depth of this one. And neither really is Geralt. And surprise, when he meets her, it's a full he said, she said, people. See, as we unravel this Gossip Girl novel, it turns out that Stregobor kept her in a tower and did dastardly things to her while she was younger. And yeah, she's pissed about it, but she's kind of moved on. Like, I'm past this. I don't really care about this guy anymore. But, you see, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing, Geralt, if that kind of a guy was, removed from the world, if you know what I'm saying. And while Geralt does understand that, yeah, he probably did do some horrible things, making her his personal lab rat, and that's pretty awful, I gotta stay out of this one. He balances on the scales. Which of these two is the lesser evil? And I kind of think this is an incredible talking point, the lesser evil. We often think, okay, in a bad situation, both things are gonna have a bad outcome. Which one's gonna have a lesser bad outcome? Well, in this case, Geralt goes, honestly, both of these are awful. I can't decide. I'm out. Again, he's not an executioner. Murder is murder, even if you slap a moral label on it. But Renfri's not the let's agree to disagree type. See, she draws him into a massive street brawl where he's forced to defend himself and duel, and it ends in a very bloody massacre. Renfri is one of those who finds Geralt's blade, and with her dying breath, she says, "A girl in the forest will be bound to your destiny." Creepy. And we already know how Geralt feels about fate and destiny. He says you can shove it. So back to the present. We do overhear, Geralt really going into this talk of destiny again and how he doesn't believe in it. And he thinks it was some crotchety young lady who's just babbling stuff on her deathbed. But that's all interrupted when, of course, we get a knocking on the temple door. And there are some dudes outside who seem pissed off. Just as we're about to find out what's going to go on with that, we flashback. All right, need to take a break from the gritty monster fights because now we're going to find ourselves at a royal banquet. And we're here with Geralt, who's been signed on as a bodyguard for Queen Calanthe. She's heard of this dude, Geralt's got the rep, and she wants him as her own personal bouncer to make sure nothing goes wrong. Just like every other fairy tale, you know it's never the guy who looks the most handsome who wins it at the end, because boom, here comes Dunny. And this is where it can get a little confusing for readers. You see, Dunny invokes the law of surprise. What's the law of surprise, you may ask? Well, it's this random Witcherverse law where if you save someone's life, they owe you something which they don't know that they have. Let's say a farmer returns home after you save his life and he's got a newborn calf. The cow is yours. Well, in this case, it was the king he saved. And what the king had that he didn't know he had was a pregnant wife at home. The queen's like, whoa, I'm the queen, I am super hella powerful. You're not just taking my daughter. And what she's failing to see is that, Pavetta actually is in love with Dunny. They've been rendezvousing behind the scenes, so it kind of all works out anyway, but no. Queen Calanthe is a badass lady, and she is not going down without a fight. And in the midst of this squabble, Pavetta has this emotional breakdown to the likes of which the world has seldom seen. You see, she's got this latent magical ability, and boom! An atom bomb of magic goes off. We're talking telekinetic, wild things flying across the room, banquet hall incredibly in shambles, and so Geralt is like scrambling to make sure that he can subdue this woman so that nobody dies. Okay, people probably died. Off comes Dunny's mask, and it turns out he's cursed too. He looks like a human hedgehogoid. Whatever he is, this hedgehog cosplaying knight ends up getting a kiss from Pavetta, which reverses the curse again. I guess we just needed to make sure every story had a curse to this point. And so Dunny feels super obligated to thank him and goes, "How can I ever repay you?" People. Why would you wish for the law of surprise? Why would you ask for, like, a house or a mansion or a boat? Turns out Pavetta was already pregnant, and that's just Geralt. Sometimes he hunts monsters, sometimes he inherits magical godchildren. And we flash forward. Geralt's still in the temple. There's a bunch of armed men outside, and he's got the urgency of a dude who's been driving with the check engine light on for 6 months. And thusly cometh Dandelion into the world of the Witcher. As a traveling companion, Dandelion is the type to never take his foot out of his mouth. Yap. So you can understand why a dry, quiet man like Geralt and a loudmouth like Dandelion might make a comical pair. The two on their travels stop in a nearby town and find out that it's been tormented by a devil. Turns out he's not a devil at all, but a goat-like creature with sticky fingers. Yes, he's been stealing food. He's been stealing it for 2 hideaway elves. Yes, now bring in the elves. We've got a devil who's a goat, and now we have elves, and a witcher, and Dandelion, but it's not a dandelion, it's a man named Dandelion. And while the devil is telling this story, up behind sneaks Filavandrel. He's one of the elves, and he bonks Geralt on the head, and Geralt goes down Bugs Bunny style. Geralt and Dandelion wake up as captives, and then we begin a verbal tennis match between Geralt and Filavandrel. They come to realize killing's not going to solve anything. Again, we're finding a situation where this brute-like character is not resorting to death or killing or mauling, and he's resorting to keeping things calm and thinking things through. This is where my love for The Witcher really began to bloom. When we flip to present day, he's cool as a cucumber with his dudes knocking outside the temple door, which is why we needed another flashback. And this will be the final flashback of the novel. And in this case, we get ourselves in a chill scene for once. Yes, Dandelion and Geralt doing what bros do. They're fishing on the lake shore. One guy enjoying the quiet while the other guy just rampantly monologues to himself. Then, boom, it's like they walked into a deleted scene from Aladdin. Fighting this fish on a line, or so they thought, turns out to be a jar, and out comes a djinn. See, only in the Witcher world, genies don't do Robin Williams impressions. They try to kill you. Dandelion, being Dandelion, sees the magic cloud rise above his head and starts pounding out wish after wish. 2 wishes in, he's coughing up blood. What the heck is going on? He can't even breathe. So Geralt kicks into emergency evac mode. He throws his man over his shoulder and sprints into town. And where does he bring him? To the doorstep of Yennefer of Vengerberg. She decides she'll help, but only if she gets to keep the djinn after she helps save Dandelion. So she starts working her magic, and the whole place turns into a disaster zone of extreme home makeover. I mean, the walls are shaking, the earth is quaking, my mind is aching, and we were... Anyway, it wasn't a great scene. Geralt, through some verbal jujitsu, kind of thinks back on the situation and figures out, wait a minute, it wasn't Dandelion that was making the wishes. It was Geralt. And by his count, he's got 1 wish left. Dare I say, the last wish? So the room is loud as hell, and he makes his final wish. And the reader doesn't get to hear it. Ultimate mystery planted. The reader wants to know what's going on, and all of a sudden the chaos drops. It's quiet. It's fixed. It's solved. The house is not shaking anymore. Dandelion is unconscious, and he's fine. Geralt and Yennefer lock eyes, and they just went through this natural disaster type chaotic event, and, the next logical step is to... by morning, there's a whole new magical bond that's been created between Geralt and Yennefer. Flash forward. We're back in the temple. Geralt's finishing up his spa treatment, and he does something kind of unexpected. He suits up, opens the door, sees the angry men that are there to greet him, and walks out. No fighting, no blood. Curtain drops, leaving us hanging like, what just happened? Sapkowski leaves you just annoyed enough where you're going to crack open the second novel. I kind of pull this book into 2 parts. You see, I have the epic adventure side. You have a sick fight with the Striga, the Bruxa, some serious battles, street brawl with Renfri, and then on the other hand, you have these less fight-centric stories that are very much philosophical. The inner workings of Geralt's mind begin to kind of reveal themselves little by little by little. See, you want to see this man as an action hero, and that's cool. I mean, we all want to see something like that. But as time goes on, you see that this action hero has a lot more to him, and it makes him more human. It makes him more relatable. He weighs options constantly. He never acts rashly. He does what he must do, not what he thinks he has to do. I think where you might get a gripe is if you're a fan of the Witcher games and you're constantly involved in these crazy monster battles. The second half of the book does kind of take the gas off the pedal. I mean, he's not fighting or killing things constantly. He's cooling down a castle feast and chatting it up with elves in the woods. So where do I rank The Last Wish overall? This one is good. It's going to be my best yet. It's going to be a 7.23. There you go, 7.23. So if you want to keep up with me along this reading journey, the following are coming your way. Yep, these 4. Get to reading, people, because I can't wait to talk about these books with you. And remember, a chapter a day keeps the brain rot away. Adios, folks.